My mother and sister called the cops on my 5-year-old daughter. I came back from a work trip a day early and found her sobbing in front of 2 officers. She was terrified, thinking the strange men were going to take her away. I didn't scream. Acted. A week later they were the ones screaming. I came home a day early, not because I missed my kid or had some motherly sixth sense, just a cancelled client meeting in Boston and a sudden free evening. I figured why not take the night train, surprise Eloise in the morning, maybe grab donuts on the way. And okay, maybe my stomach felt off, but that's basically my default setting when my mother's involved. The key turned quieter than usual, probably because I turned it slow like I was bracing myself for something. I just didn't expect that something. 2 cops were standing in the living room, one scribbling in a notepad. The other, young with a polite face, crouched down talking to my kid. My 5-year-old daughter, Eloise, curled up on the edge of the couch, arms pinned to her sides, staring at the floor like she was waiting for a sentence. Margaret, my mother, loomed nearby with her arms crossed like a judge who already had the verdict. Selena, my sister, held her daughter, Isabel, who was sniffly and fake sobbing into her mom's shoulder. For a second I thought maybe they were at the wrong house. But then one officer looked up and said, "Good morning. You must be Mrs. Laurent. Vivian, Eloise's mother." He nodded. "Yes. What's going on here?" He shifted slightly, positioning himself between me and Eloise. Not aggressively, just protectively. His tone softened. "Everything's all right. We were just responding to a call. There was a report of a dispute between children. One pushed the other. There was crying. We were told you were out of town, so we've been speaking with your mother and sister." I looked straight at Margaret. "You called the police on a 5-year-old. Selena jumped in like she was defending her. "She hit Isabel. She fell and was crying really hard." But Isabel, who was currently working her way through a cracker and sneakily watching Eloise like she'd won. Eloise still hadn't looked up. Her little body was shaking. I walked over, sat beside her, and pulled her into a hug. "She didn't hit," Margaret corrected coldly. "She pushed. We tried talking to her but she got mouthy. We thought maybe a quick chat with the police would help her understand this behavior isn't okay." The other officer finally spoke, raising an eyebrow. "For a 5-year-old, ma'am, we don't typically conduct behavioral chats with kids who aren't even in kindergarten yet. We came because we were required to respond. But honestly, this kind of call isn't what emergency services are for." That's when Eloise finally looked at me and started crying. Quiet, broken crying. Not loud or dramatic, just like something inside her gave up. I hugged her tighter. She wrapped her arms around my neck and held on like I was the only solid thing left. I rubbed her back and looked up at the officer. "So, there's nothing here that warrants further action," he said gently. "We've documented statements from everyone. No signs of harm. The child's shaken but calm now. We'd recommend handling situations like this privately in the future, especially," he turned to Margaret, "without calling in law enforcement unnecessarily." Selena, already defensive, asked, "You're not opening a case?" "No, ma'am," he said firmly. "Let me be clear. If this kind of report happens again, it could be considered misuse of emergency services. We have real emergencies. Don't waste our time." Then he looked at Eloise and, surprisingly, smiled. "You're okay, Eloise. No one's taking you anywhere. You can go back to playing now. Just remember, sometimes other kids want to play with the same toy and that's okay. But pushing isn't how we solve it. That doesn't make you bad. You don't have to give up your toy if you don't want to. Just talk about it, okay?" She nodded into my shoulder. He smiled at me, then walked out with his partner. The door clicked shut, and silence settled in. Well, except for Isabel whining that she wanted to go to the park. Selena was whispering something to her. Margaret looked like she expected me to apologize. "You've lost your damn minds," I said. "Calling the police on a 5-year-old over a toy." "Not over a toy," Margaret snapped. "Over aggression. You spoil her. She thinks she can do anything she wants. Kids like that become problems in school. And grandmothers like you become stories therapists here for years. What kind of adult terrifies a child with cops? Shot back. I didn't terrify her, my mother replied. I just said if she didn't stop, there'd be consequences. That's not a threat. It's the truth. You told her the police were going to take her away. You know she's scared of strangers. Margaret shrugged. Maybe now she'll think twice. I held Eloise even closer. Yeah, well, now you can think twice. You're never being alone with her again. Not you. Not Selena. That's done. After that night I was washing Eloise's hair, helping her into pajamas, reading her a book about dragons. The usual routine, but I kept stumbling over the words because my brain wouldn't shut up. Pointed to the page. You know who my favorite is? Asked. Who? She whispered. The princess. Not the dragon, not the knight. The princess. Because she doesn't sit around waiting to be rescued. Eloise was quiet. Then she said softly, Mom, Grandma said that if I told you, you'd get upset because you'd be ashamed of me. I exhaled, closed the book. First of all, pushing someone isn't okay, even if they try to take your toy. But that doesn't make you a bad kid. And no, I'm not upset. And no, I'm definitely not ashamed of you. She looked at me, really trying to read my face for hidden disappointment. Really? Really, I said. I'm always on your side. Always. And if you mess up, we talk about it. Just you and me. No strangers showing up, no lectures from Grandma, no guilt trips, no shame. Just us figuring it out. Deal? She nodded, nuzzling into my shoulder. I sat there in the dark, holding her, listening to her breathing, knowing that this time I got there in time. And from now on I wasn't stepping away, not even for a minute. Growing up, I knew our family dynamics all too well. My mom, Margaret, perfect makeup, frosty heart, never yelled, emotions beneath her. Catchphrase. Don't make a scene. Behave with dignity. My sister Selena, polished, straight A's, perfect ponytails, mirrored Mom like it was an instruction manual. I was the difficult one, opinions, crying, thinking too much. My dad existed quietly in the background. He loved us in his way, but lived in Margaret's shadow. Sometimes he winked at me when she got unbearable. That was solidarity, not intervention. I left home at 19, night classes, day job, shoebox apartment with a brick wall view. Wanted to be a designer, became one. Now I'm 32, UX designer at a small steady company. Remote work, occasional business trips. Not rich but enough. Eloise came when I was 27. Her father had the emotional range of a kitchen sponge. He flinched when she cried. 6 months later, always working late. A year in, gone. Divorce quiet. Child support occasional. Eloise barely remembers him. After my dad died, brain aneurysm, gone from work one day, my mom started showing up again. She brought rotisserie chicken, not homemade but a peace offering. I let myself believe maybe she had changed. I started dropping by with Eloise, leaving her there for errands. Selena lived nearby with Isabel. The girls played together. Seemed fine. But now I watched Eloise sleep, realizing none of it was real. Margaret doesn't love Eloise. Not really. Constant low-grade disapproval. Eloise is loud, bright, messy, fully alive. Margaret wants polite, quiet, controllable, like Selena's Isabel. Selena knows the game, leans into it. Isabel the new favorite. Eloise the outsider. When I saw the police call, I snapped. The first 5 days after I cut off their financial reliance were quiet. No texts, no calls. Eloise slept through the night. I breathed again. But then day 5 hit. Selena sent an email about a failed loan payment. I didn't reply. Mom called hours later, complaining about utility bills, water heaters, insurance. I didn't reply. I canceled autopays for health insurance too. Let them call Medicare. The next day, Selena showed up with Isabel in tow. I was feeding Eloise star-shaped mac and cheese. We were just nearby, Selena said. Maybe we should talk. There's nothing to talk about, I said, slicing cucumbers. You just stopped helping, Selena whispered. No warning. And you gave me a heads up when you called the cops on my 5-year-old. That was Mom, not me. What were you doing? Baking muffins. You stood there and nodded along or egged her on. Either way, not innocent. She sighed. Mom and I aren't even speaking because of you. You blew up the family. I'm protecting my daughter, I said. Something you forgot to do. Selena looked down. Exhaled. You're a mom too. Imagine if someone used your kid to make a point. How would you feel? She didn't respond, just took Isabel's hand and walked away. Eloise saw it all. She looked up at me quietly. Are they not coming anymore? I knelt beside her. No, sweetie. They're not. And if they ever try, I'll protect you. I promise. About a week after I cut off their financial reliance, the real chaos started. I went to pick up Eloise from preschool, 4 o'clock sharp, gummy bears in my coat pocket, her favorite. Usually, warm smiles greeted me from the other parents. Not this time. Sideways glances, whispers. One of the PTA queens, Vivian, acting like she hadn't seen me before, gave me a tight, awkward smile. Everything okay with you guys? Translation: we were just talking about you, now we don't know where to look. I helped Eloise zip her coat. She pressed against me like she knew the whispers weren't for her. We got an anonymous message about some incident with the police. Something about Eloise having anger issues. I took a slow breath, the kind you take when your first instinct is to yell, "Why are you gossiping about a 5-year-old?" Instead I stayed calm. Interesting. And who exactly sent this? No name. Just an email with screenshots, supposedly part of a police report. I smiled faintly, showing calm authority. Want to know where it really came from? Only if you feel like sharing, Miss Sanders, the lead teacher, said gently. I looked her straight in the eye. Eloise had a minor spat with her 4-year-old cousin. Her grandma and aunt decided she needed a lesson, so they called the police on a 5-year-old because she didn't share a toy. And now, apparently, they're trying to smear her in the preschool community, probably hoping I'll panic and start wiring them money again. Miss Sanders gave a long, slow nod. No words, just acknowledgement. I walked back to Eloise. The other parents were still hovering, waiting for drama. Beside, in our neighborhood, rumors move faster than preschool RSV. Sometimes it's easier to just give them a headline. In case you're wondering, I said calmly, I have a complicated relationship with my mother. She chose to handle things creatively. Eloise is fine. The police are not on speed dial. Thanks for your concern. They nodded awkwardly, murmuring, Oh, got it. I smiled just enough to end the conversation and took Eloise's hand. She squeezed mine as we walked to the car. It's okay, baby, I whispered. Grown-ups love to talk, even when they don't know what they're talking about. That evening, her father sent a text. Hey, just got a weird message about the police and Eloise. What's going on? I almost laughed. Really? You want to step in now? I replied. My mom called the police because Eloise pushed her cousin. Crazy, right? They came, saw 2 little girls in princess dresses, drank a bottle of water and left. Everything's fine. Wait, seriously, he texted back. Seriously, I typed. If you want to be part of her life, start by showing up consistently, not reacting to one email. The next day, Selena was waiting by the preschool gates with Isabel. You serious, Mollery? This isn't mature, she said. Nice to see you two, I replied. How's your evening? She tried to guilt-trip me. You just stopped helping, no warning. I thought you still wanted Nora to have an aunt, for Eloise to have a cousin. I calmly responded. I'm protecting my daughter. Something you forgot to do. Selena looked down. Exhaled. You're a mom too. Imagine if someone used your kid to make a point. How would you feel? No answer. She took Isabel's hand and walked away. Eloise saw it all. Quietly she asked, Are they not coming anymore? No, sweetie, I said, kneeling beside her. And if they ever try, I'll protect you. I promise. A few days later, I showed up at preschool a little early and asked to speak with the director. I laid it all out. Police call, grandma's medieval approach to discipline, smear campaigns in the parent chat, my 5-year-old clinging to me for safety. I'm really sorry you've been through all that, the director said. No one except pre-approved contacts will be allowed near your daughter. Would you like that in writing? Yes. No baby talk, no fake sweet voices, no kisses for auntie. Nothing. Zero access. We'll follow protocol, she confirmed. I'll brief the teachers too. I walked out feeling like I'd cleaned a kitchen after a milk explosion. Not perfect, but no longer sticky.